What up? We've gone back to in this episode. So, in this episode,
About time you brought that intro back.
The Fantasy Football Show.
Hello everybody and welcome to PlanetFPL, the world where everything revolves around Fantasy Premier League. My name's Serge.
And my name is James.
How are you?
All right, mate.
Oh
Yourself?
shit, that's what Josh and Brandon say to each other. Let's pop a bottle. Mine was already twisted.
Cheers.
Yeah, that's what Josh and Brandon say on their show, so we shouldn't nick other people's other people's catchphrases. But recording again, end of game week 13 now. Reasonable game week. Mine is over. Used to have Tom Heaton to play Monday Night Football, Aston Villa at home to Newcastle in a couple of hours, 2-3 hours. What is it, 8 o'clock, 7:45?
Yeah, as usual, we'll probably be putting this podcast out after the game. You're out of date, as usual.
Yeah, true, but it's good that people know that we're recording before, because when we talk about our points, you still may have some to come in.
I might. And that's quite important because you're on 70 points so far for the game week. I'm on 64.
Yep.
Anything less than a Tom Heaton clean sheet or penalty save tonight, and this will be the first time you beat me since game week 2.
Interesting to know. Did I beat you in both the first two game weeks?
You did.
Right. Okay. So it's been a slippery slope. I was at 2,100,000 4 game weeks ago. I played my wild card in game week 7 for game week 8. I dropped from 8 to 9 to 2.13 million. As it stands, I'm inside the top million for the first time in ages. So that's 4 rises in a row. And this week's looking either side of 500,000 place rise. So it's been a big one this week.
Nice.
With 70 points. I do think I'm at 952k. I think I'll stay inside the top million because of the ownership of Villa and Newcastle players. Other than a John McGinn hat trick, I don't see anyone from either of those two sides really pushing me out.
Even appearance of points will hit you a little bit.
A little, but not enough that it'll be 50k, I think. So,
there's not going to be a lot of like Newcastle ownership bashing about. Just McGinn, I think a couple of people sort of like Heaton, Gilbert, maybe Matt Target.
Correct.
Grealish, if he's fit, maybe. Yeah. Might be a couple of people knocking about on Wesley. I'd be very surprised.
It was similar to game week 1 in a lot of ways. A good week to have a good week. Because a lot of the average of the top 10
it's always a good week to have a good week.
Yeah.
There are some weeks where it feels like you have a bad week and it was the right week to have a bad week because a lot of other people suffer. I think sort of game week 8, 9, we were all suffering a bit together, weren't we?
Yeah. I'm just trying to pull up the top 10k average. I think that was close to 60 something points. Even though the overall average here, top 10k is at 61.6 at the moment, and the overall is at 46. So there's a good 15-point disparity between the two.
All your dead teams are coming into play now. A third of the game's out.
A little bit. So ended on 60. You're on 64 at the moment with a bit to play.
64. Tom Heaton to go. Decent week. No grumbles. Essentially, I think probably small rise based on I've jumped 60k up to 247k. Captain Vardy, fortunate to the extent that obviously could have very easily been penalty miss / assist / no return almost, 2 assists. But the fact that he scored made a big difference, certainly assisted a bonus. Goal on bonus for Mane, goal Kevin De Bruyne, nice 8-pointer from Ben Chilwell. Assist, yellow card, clusterfuck from John Lundstrom, and an assist and a bonus point from Andy Robertson.
I was in a similar boat to you. There was a point coming up to the end of the 3 o'clock fixtures on Saturday where I could have ended up on about 72 just from those because the BPS was looking good. I think, again, it was just an example of how things can change. The Jamie Vardy, I captained Jamie Vardy as well, and I'll probably captain him again this week. That would be 3 in a row. So let's see. I think they've got a good fixture this week. The only thing that will change that is if I buy Tammy Abraham this week, because where we had that strategy of captain anyone playing Norwich. It's now captain anyone playing West Ham, which we'll talk about in a little while. But Vardy's captaincy was good. I own Maddison. So I was in a completely different boat when he missed that penalty. I was like, okay, he's missed the penalty. I picked up the Maddison goal points here. So I don't mind that he's missed the penalty points, because actually from a defensive shield, sword, whatever, I don't know the analogy very well, I would have done all right, because a lot of people captained Vardy. So that would probably give me a bigger rank boost. But that was decent. Kevin De Bruyne got me a return, which was good. And he could have been another. Maybe we won't talk about VAR, but we'll mention it later. But that could have been a double return. Sonny, golden assist, which was decent and maximum bonus points. I made one transfer this week. I got rid of Mason Greenwood and brought in Chris Wood. I thought, let's try and do some prep for game week 18. Mason Greenwood scored, but I think I did all right because I benched Yarmolenko and played Chris Wood, whereas if I'd kept Mason Greenwood, I would have left him on the bench. So that was decent. And then Robertson's points as well. But there was a point that Robbo was on max bonus points. Chris Wood was on max bonus points.
I don't know why you look through these bonus points mid-games. It kills you. I won't do it anymore.
I actually think
piss you off.
Look, it's one of the topics of conversation. Obviously, we had the early game, and losing to your lot was depressing enough.
Wow.
I just think that I preferred football when I didn't care about it. I preferred playing FPL when I didn't go and watch West Ham week in, week out.
I don't remember football when I didn't care about it.
Yeah, I think it's becoming a little bit too influential in my mood, I think, at the moment.
What, this or football?
Combination of both. I think it's a combination of both. Majority of it is obviously football. Had West Ham been winning, I think I'd be in a different mood. But yeah, I think I'm not sure where I stand on it. I'm like, you know what? It's so funny. I watched a video with DT at AFTV after the Arsenal game because they drew, which almost was a loss, and that's my guilty pleasure for everybody that knows I like to do that. And he said something really funny, which was at the start of his video, he said, it's my son's 9th birthday today. And he goes, you know what? I gave him as a present. I let him stay at home because I didn't want to ruin his day by bringing him to this crap, because I knew that we would screw up and I knew that it would affect his mood. So my actual birthday present to him was not taking him to see his team. Imagine being that negative before you've even kicked the ball.
Did you take your kids Saturday?
I did.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
They still love you?
Yeah, I mean, he's too young to get it. I think he's only just turned 7, so he doesn't really understand the rivalry. And also, he doesn't care about football. I'm trying to get him to care about football. He'd happily
I think it's
not care.
Natural for you because, in seriousness, you're obviously, as a football club, as a West Ham fan, you're obviously on a very bad run. I think that's going to affect your mood. Spurs' performance affects me massively. This is the happiest I've been on a Monday for about 2 months. It's the first time we won on a weekend for about 2 months. So, yeah, I think if FPL's affecting you negatively, I don't know if that's an add-on on West Ham, but as we always say, I think like if FPL's affecting you negatively, you need to get out of a headspace. Who can I record with for the rest of the week?
I need an international break. I was genuinely thinking,
you got December coming.
International break, mate. It's not even that. You know what, though? Strangely, I spent 2.5 hours on Saturday night. My missus was tired. She went to sleep at about 9 o'clock when the kids go to sleep. 2.5 hours with a planning spreadsheet for Sky, which I was then going to translate onto my FPL team, and then realised it was midnight. And I thought, you know what? And I was actually in a positive state of mind there.
A serious player would have kept going.
Yeah, true. But I was in a positive state of mind because I felt like I had a plan, and it was quite interesting. This week, I wasn't expecting to do amazingly well. I had 3 or 4 problems in my squad that I wanted to solve. One was Callum Wilson. One was potentially Son to Mane, and that wasn't because Son had done anything wrong. It was because I wanted Mane, and I've got Yarmolenko. I ended up in decision paralysis, changing 9 of those 3 and actually changing Mason Greenwood and come out all right with Chris Wood and Son.
I have to let into a small confession that I spent, after doing the final plan Friday and then going home Friday night, spent most of the night debating between transferring Pookie out for Mousse or Jordan Ayew. and then it became apparent that Pookie's price probably wasn't going to drop on the Friday night, and I was in a better position leaving Pookie as first sub rather than the other two, I believed, at that time. Partially correcting the fact that I left Pookie as first sub and he got an assist. But do you know what? I woke up Saturday morning, I was like, okay, I can still make that transfer now. I'm definitely going to be moving out Pookie. And I just wasn't in the right headspace following all the Pochettino Mourinho stuff to be making that decision. So I thought, do you know what? Let me go and watch Spurs. I'll make the decision afterwards. Come home drunk and decided to transfer in Jordan Ayew. Then watched Lys Mousset score a fantastic goal for Sheffield United yesterday and thought, made a fucking error here. But he's apparently tweaked his hamstring. So it might be that it was the right decision after all.
I did see your bench thinking, oof, that...
I mean, yeah, Pookie and Cantwell, it's been like that for weeks.
Doesn't make it
so
a
it was
wrong,
always
doesn't
going to
make it a
happen
wrong transfer.
at one stage. Nah, Cantwell's going to go as well still.
Because you can never look at the points from 1 week. You've got to look at the points from the last 4 or 5 weeks. And if you average it out, it's still the right decision to bench them. I think I'm gonna change the way I play FPL to match up a little bit more with Sky. And what I mean by that is now I'm going to plan out what I'm going to do between now and Christmas to an 80 to 90% kind of certainty, and then just follow the plan. Whereas having to go in every week and give it headspace.
There's issues with that, though.
Of course there is, which are different to Sky. I understand that price rises.
Yeah,
and
clarify
and
for the non-British listeners that obviously there's no price changes in the Sky game that we play. Whereas you need to factor that in here.
Of course, and there'll always have to be a plan B or a plan C. But I feel like if I've planned out 8 to 9 weeks, it actually reduces the amount of time I have to think about things to usually a much more smaller decision-making process, which might be A or B, C or D, that kind of thing.
I like the idea of you getting in a structured headspace. I think it would be good for you.
And you know my life anyway, right? I'm fucking...
100 mile
an hour. So there are definitely 100% weeks where either I don't get any time to think about my team or watch enough football at the weekend to catch up with it. So I just feel this week particularly, and I'm 99% sure that a large bulk of it was at the back of the depressing defeat. Because I left home at 9:30, 10 in the morning, get back at like 4:30 or 5 in the afternoon, and it was just rubbish, absolutely rubbish. So yeah, interesting. I mean, even seeing Son score, it was just like, yeah, I've got FPL points, great. This is not going anywhere. But interestingly enough, look, 70 points inside the top million. I'm going to make a plan between now and the end of the season because there's still 8 game weeks in about 5 or 6 actual weeks. And I'm not going to get away with not watching football because I put a tweet out on Saturday. Every West Ham away game apart from Chelsea this week is televised. So that's about...
you don't want to watch that anyway.
The next 12 matches, I'll be watching all of them for my boys. But and we never know who is going to be in charge. Who's on Twitter Watch to see when breaking news comes up as flashing? We should position our...
We should clarify that we're recording just before 6 o'clock on Monday. We're expecting Marco Silva news at any time. We do believe now that there are possible approaches going on for targets for West Ham behind Pellegrini's back, and we also believe there might have been a sounding out from Arsenal for Mikel Arteta. It's all just rumour mill at the moment. I'd suggest Everton particularly, there's going to be some movement very shortly.
I think the thing with mid-season managerial appointments, we saw it last week with Spurs, is that clubs are only likely to let a manager go when they've got the replacement pretty much done and dusted. It's rare for them to let someone go and not have an idea of what they're going to do.
That's becoming more common. You certainly get some teams where it would just be better just to get the guy out. I don't feel it's quite that desperate for any of Arsenal, Everton, West Ham to have to do that.
If you've had to let it get to a particularly bad state for that to be true, and I think people pull the trigger much earlier nowadays. That's probably a bad analogy.
Well, Spurs have been working on Mourinho for weeks.
20 years. So. Not 20 years, 5 years or however long.
You could argue 12 years, yeah.
Yeah, indeed. So interesting game week. Should we run down the games as we do?
Yeah, mate.
First up, the early kickoff that we mentioned, West Ham 2, Spurs 3. We have recorded Tottenham, which goes out tomorrow, being Tuesday, and we talk in depth about the game. James gives me grief because Spurs did beat us 3-2 at the London Stadium. I had the cheeky listen to the live stream from Lee and Sam at FPL Family. Sam is a Tottenham fan. She did two things that you did in Tottenham. Talked about the first 60 minutes as Spurs being great. And I was like, I've just heard that exact same thing from James. And secondly, she referred to Poch's team in exactly the same way that you made the slip of the tongue. So I think the consensus amongst Spurs fans was a much improved performance. And whilst you can't read too much into it because West Ham are that poo emoji.
Did you know we've now won
I did.
4 consecutive games at London Stadium?
Correct.
You know what West Ham's biggest streak is? What is
3. However, it's a pointless stat.
Yeah, because you know why it's pointless, didn't you? West Ham never get the benefit of being able to play West Ham.
Yeah, I've seen that tweet many a time. I'm like, yeah, fine. You can try out all sorts of stats if you want to, but they don't. They're meaningless if you look at it. I always think that stats, even when you're looking at our record against you in the past 50 years, has been so. The past is just not a good predictor of the future. Anyway.
Let's attack this. We obviously talked the game in mass detail on tomorrow's Tottenham.
Yeah, I only have one comment.
For all the
on
bantering and stuff, I think you'd really enjoy. Let's just focus on this FPL a little bit if we can try.
So let's just say that West Ham, there are no assets, 0 assets in consideration right now.
Do you just want to remind for the listeners who may not have time to listen to Tottenham tomorrow how good Roberto is?
Yeah, class keeper. Class keeper.
Okay, so there are a few obviously talking points with Spurs at the moment. Gazzaniga 4.5 and Serge Aurier 4.8 are both seeing a little bit of interest in the market. I'll remind you that Tottenham have only kept 1 clean sheet so far this season. Everybody else has kept at least 2. People thinking Mourinho, I'll go back to the stat I used on Friday's final plan, about 2 clean sheets in his final 19 league games at Manchester United. I would strongly recommend that you avoid defensively. I think goalkeeper-wise, Gazzaniga, okay, because it's really cheap, it's budget. Things probably will improve in the medium term. I don't expect immediate clean sheets from Spurs.
Yeah, I'd just copy paste that, Control-C, Control-V. Didn't seem... It was easy enough. Davinson Sanchez and Aurier are quite big and physical. How they'd react to a team actually attacking them with any pace, I'd still be a little bit fearful.
I think... obviously interesting that Moura and Son both played together in wide positions in a 4-2-3-1 and it worked. Lots have been asking me about Lucas Moura at 7 million. You need more information. Wait on the Tuesday game. I would wait on Saturday. Then it's Man United away. Give yourself 3 or 4 games of information to see where you're at with this at Spurs would be the recommendation. Son at 9.7 million is he's tempting. I personally can't justify getting him in. I wouldn't advise getting him in over Kevin De Bruyne, even in spite of this uplift for Spurs and City's fixtures. So if you can find a way to make that happen, obviously you've got Son, Serge. If you're on Son, don't sell. I really feel Spurs are in don't buy, don't sell period. It's still a difficult run of fixtures for Spurs with... There's a couple of home games that are kind of interesting. Bournemouth this week, Burnley in game week 16. There's 2 away games either side of Burnley, Man United away, Wolves away, and there's Chelsea at home game week 18. For me, it feels like get an assessment of this little period, and then there's Brighton at home, Norwich away, Southampton away, game weeks 19, 21. And then either side are playing Liverpool in 22. There's Watford away and Norwich at home, game weeks 23 and 24. I think for now with Spurs, make an assessment of what you're seeing. I think if you really feel it for Son, I can't put you off. I can't justify going for him at the moment.
I was going to say exactly
I can't
the same.
fit him in.
I've seen him play. I've had him since game week 7. I had a blank off him, followed by half a game because he came back from the international break. And then I've had a return every single week off him. I just think, he's decent. He ruined the Everton game, obviously, with that red card. Otherwise, that would have been even more points. So from what I've seen, he's attacking, he's direct, he's playing with pace. I'm a big Heung-min Son fan. he is in that price bracket, where you need to generally do surgery to your team to try and find him, because so many of us are sitting with midfielders that are 6.5 or 7 million. Now that I own him, I actually think that he has the potential to go toe-to-toe with Mane between now and the end of the year from a points point of view. I can't justify moving from Son to Mane. I don't think the points differential is going to be £3 million in FPL's point of view. That's my take on it. I am exactly echoing you. If you want him, get him, because he will make you happy. But doing major surgery to your team to get him in, I'm not sure.
The problem is where Son gets really hard to ignore is obviously he missed the first 2 game weeks through suspension. Played in the home game against Newcastle, which was a horrific team performance overall. We created very little. And then if you look at the fixtures since, of which he started all bar the Watford home draw when he was a substitute, came on for the second half after the previous international break. Mm-hmm. He started all the fixtures. His only actual blank is that fixture. The only blank in the fixture he started since game week 3 was another awful performance to 3-0 defeat at Brighton. But otherwise, it's 4 goals, 6 assists.
Decent.
Yeah, he's a brilliant player. He's a brilliant footballer. When he gets you in that position, like he got Diop for the first goal, you know he go left or right. Don't make no difference.
Yeah, Roberto's getting a lot of stick for that goal.
Well, he should have saved it.
He hit that fucking hard.
I'll be honest with you, I think it's a better goalkeeper. I think Son makes more of an effort to make sure he hits the corner. I think he just hit the target.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe. I thought he hit it hard. It was coming at pace. You
think he should have saved Kane's header as well? Yeah, I do.
Yeah, maybe. I think Flappy would have made a better effort of it.
You just don't want to talk about this fella, do you?
Nah, not really.
Okay. Should we move on to another game and we'll save you a bit?
Can I just... let me drop some inside information.
You want to keep talking about it? All right, cool.
I'm going to just tell you some inside information that I've heard. And this is coming firsthand.
Yeah.
We're talking about Pellegrini wanting to... me wanting Pellegrini out, and plenty of West Ham fans wanting Pellegrini out. I have an inside source who has somebody who is first-hand connection with one of our midfielders who's not playing at the moment because he's injured, and I won't name him because I don't want to get sued.
It's not Jack.
I'm not naming any names, but they were out somewhere after the Burnley 3-0 away game.
Oh, Jack's always out.
His attitude, exact words, and I've heard this from a first-hand source, was good. Because that's if we lose like that, I'll be able to get back into the team.
Okay, that's
bad.
Big. Yes,
I don't know if I can put that down to that individual midfielder being
tell your source to tell the player to get the fuck out of your club.
What, the amount of money we're paying him, you think he's going to want to go? It's a joke. Yeah, so bad egg, whoever he is, anyway. So I think there's issues within the dressing room.
I don't know who it is. I think it's Jack. I'm just saying.
Answers on a postcard too. Some other actually really, really good games this weekend. Arsenal 2, Southampton 2. I'm not sure. There was just something about Arsenal that made me move my armband in Sky from Aubameyang to Vardy, and it was proven in this fixture. Southampton had more shots in the first half, more aggression. I don't know. Arsenal changed their formation.
If I'd have owned Aubameyang in FPL this weekend, I'd have captained him.
Yeah, I can't bring myself to captain anyone from clubs like Man United and Arsenal because they blow so hot and cold. Excuse me, sometimes.
Well, there is a fault now that even with Norwich away this weekend, Brighton at home in the midweek after, and then obviously yourselves away on the Monday night in game week 16, that even holding Aubameyang, even in those 3 brilliant fixtures, considering particularly what sort of Vardy, Abraham, Mane, Salah have got this weekend, that you'll not be captain in the near future, and therefore is it better to downgrade to someone like Jimenez's value and then spread that money? I think absolutely a fair argument there. As some are even suggesting, Lacazette offers better value for money. I feel like that's instinctive based on the fact Lacazette scored twice at the weekend. So Wouldn't advise that. I am blaming Suj, however, for talking me into captaining Richarlison for the differential team rather than Alexander Lacazette. That's why generally I just make decisions and tell you what I'm doing. Arsenal have now conceded.
Just so the user know, you have the username and password. I don't. Yeah, so
that is true. But I thought I'd let you have one. It was only fucking Norwich, wasn't it? Trust Everton. What a stupid mistake.
Ask Sean about it on Thursday.
Yeah, we'll do that. Arsenal have now conceded 45 shots in their last 2 home games against Wolves and Southampton. I think that statistically can tell you quite a lot. Southampton absolutely should have won the game at the weekend. I think even Arsenal's players were embarrassed to celebrate when they equalised at the weekend.
We're playing Southampton away before we play. Just after we play Arsenal in that game week. We've got Chelsea away, then Arsenal, then Southampton. Wolves, then Arsenal, then Southampton. Of that run of 4 games, Arsenal is the one I'm looking forward to most because I feel like they're the ones that you can actually get out. That says a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, it speaks volumes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more worried about Southampton because I know Hasenhüttl gets them working hard and pressing, and we're not good against teams like that. Arsenal is the one that I'm like, look, you know what? If you're going to get in amongst anyone, this is the one to get up for. There's no one there, Arsenal. I still want to look at Tierney, but not with Arsenal performing the way they are. There's no one there that I'm looking at.
No, I mean, we had a discussion about Bellerin and Tierney for the differential team last week, but for your serious team, like you ain't buying Arsenal players, even with Norwich away this weekend. It's ridiculous.
No.
Can't.
Harry Kane's dropped to 10.8, right?
You would maybe make an argument that if Emery was sacked this week, you might want to look again. And I think it feels a little bit like that with the 3 respective clubs, Arsenal, West Ham and Everton, that Everton no because of the horrendous run of fixtures, and obviously not West Ham this weekend with Chelsea away. But actually, if the change is there, then people look again. You've already seen the reaction, people already looking at Spurs already, and they were looking before the result of the weekend just because of that managerial shift. Now, if Emery was to go this week and somebody else is in charge for Norwich at the weekend, then suddenly, I guess if you're an owner of Aubameyang, you suddenly think, oh yeah, I might captain him this weekend. Southampton next 5, Watford at home, Norwich at home. I mean, those 2, absolutely massive. Newcastle away, West Ham at home, Villa away. The next 5, they're the 5 games between now and Boxing Day. Should we be tempted, particularly by Danny Ings is obviously getting some mention.
6 million is now a good price, huh?
Now 6 goals scored this season, and been fit for a little while now. I just feel like he's always just one sprint away from it, mate. Doesn't interest me. I mean, even at $1 million more than Jordan Ayew, didn't tempt me because I knew I was wanting to shift the funds somewhere else. So, but I can understand why there is an interest there. And I think if you're going to go in Danny Ings at 6, Djenepo at 5.2 is an interesting one. He should have scored twice late on at Arsenal at the weekend. He's obviously suffered with injuries, back fit, but then he started the Everton game and then was back on the bench against Arsenal. So I think you need to know that he's going to be back in the team for that massive 5:30 game on Saturday. So I still avoid.
I think it is.
Definitely don't go near him defensively, even in spite of them fixtures.
I was looking at...
It would be Ings or not at all, I think.
I had a little look at Danny Ings before I bought Chris Wood, because Chris Wood is just a little snippet more at 6.2. And I wanted... the stat that fascinated me is Danny Ings' ownership is 3.8%. Chris Wood is 1.1%. Actually, only Chris Wood's more of a differential than only Danny Ings. I mean, they're both completely differential category. But I ended up with Chris Wood for the reliability. But yeah, Danny Ings...
I think Danny Ings is a really, really interesting one, particularly for those still holding wildcard. But having said that, I completely overlooked it.
Yep. Bournemouth 1, Wolves 2. Jimenez.
Yeah, most shots in the box in the last 4 game weeks for Raul Jimenez.
14 goals this season so far.
Ticking along, quite a few of them recently, very assisted well by Crapid. No longer Crapid, Adama Traore. I'd buy him for Spurs, you know that.
Traore?
Yeah, I'm not joking. I would have actually bought him when he left Middlesbrough.
They're always chaos, aren't they?
Yeah,
it's like Antonio. He's very similar. It's chaos. He's going to get himself
I'd
about
love that
there.
situation. Say like Saturday, we're holding on to a lead against you.
Yeah.
Bring him on with 20 minutes to go.
Well, look,
so fuck you on the counter, mate.
Last season, you remember 0-0 very early in the season, 0-0 against
Scored,
Wolves,
yeah.
and he came on and he did the damage on the counter. There are players like him and Antonio. They use their strength and speed just to cause chaos, and you never know what can happen. I have a situation this week, James, where I've got 2 transfers. Mount could go to Pulisic and Wilson could go to Tammy Abraham. I can't afford it by 0.1. And instead of Tammy Abraham, I'm just thinking Jimenez. Can he match Tammy Abraham?
Yes. Yeah.
Sheffield United at home, followed by West Ham at home, Brighton away.
I don't feel like the fixtures are on paper are quite as good for Wolves as they look. That said, look, are they 5th? Wolves, I think. They're 5th at the moment. They've only lost twice, which I think we heard that stat last week. I'm like, what? Really?
Yeah,
They've only lost twice. Sheffield United's difficult. The West Ham game, someone else might be in charge of the team.
Yeah, Nuno Espirito Santo. His hat has been thrown into rings.
Brighton away, good side.
Tottenham at home.
Spurs at home's possibly different now. Norwich away, I'm going to talk about in a bit. Obviously, looks like a favourable fixture, and it's City, Liverpool. Those are their fixtures up to New Year's. But fixtures don't matter so much with Wolves. We've known that. It's now 6 returns and 6 for Jimenez. This is the Raul Jimenez from last season we were expecting. He started every single game. He's missed like basically 45 minutes of football so far this season. So he's getting all the minutes. 8 returns in total now. 68 points from 13 is very, very reasonable. And yeah, I can't put anybody off Raul Jimenez. I've decided to take a different route personally, just because if I'd have gone Pookie to Jimenez, it would have left me a little bit short of what the options that I might have in midfield. So I've gone down a different route. I'm going to go to a 5 in midfield or a 4-4-2. So I'm going to let it go. Or certainly I'm at least keeping Abraham for these West Ham and Aston Villa 2 home fixtures. And I might possibly reassess. But I think I'm going without Jimenez. I can't put anybody else off. There's so many obviously now on that trio of Vardy, Abraham, Jimenez. From a value perspective, they're definitely the best.
Phenomenal,
they're the best 3 to have.
Yeah, absolutely.
No question.
Phenomenal. Anything from a Bournemouth point of view? Callum Wilson now 5 without a return. Our friend Brett FPL TV tweeted how he'd bought Callum Wilson the same week that I did, 5 games without a return. I think it's his fault. You know that? I think I'm going to blame Brett for putting the curse on him, because I thought it was my fault, to be honest with you, for buying him and him not returning. He's that player that you almost don't want to sell because he can return at any time, right? And you get into that, well, I can't sell him because he's at home. But now I think he's got to go.
It's tough, isn't it?
Well, look at Sterling.
I mean, the fixture,
look how many people have sold Sterling.
Fixtures are tough for Bournemouth as well.
Yeah, now they are. So I think it is time. But how many people have been rage transferring Sterling out for Mane, especially after the performance?
The thing is, when you transfer out a player like Callum Wilson, or more to the point with Raheem Sterling, when we went on Let's Talk FPL with Andy a couple of Fridays ago, one of the things we spoke about was the idea, look, because people are selling Raheem Sterling, don't think Raheem Sterling will return. Of course they do. It's just a case that currently it looked like there's better options on the table. And obviously, look, Sterling's been incredibly unlucky with how many VAR decisions so far this season. Could have a completely different points return because his armpit's offside. There's an argument that Kurt Zuma's arse was playing him on. Anyway, Bournemouth, will come back onto that. Just a couple of notables. Obviously, I was at the game in December when Simon Francis suffered a horrific knee injury. This was his first game back. Didn't even make it back to 45 minutes. You want to talk about bad refereeing decisions. By law, technically, you cannot send a player off having played advantage. And therefore, Simon Francis, although technically it was definitely a second yellow, should not have received it. And I'm surprised that more wasn't made of that. When we had...
Is that true for 2 yellows, not straight reds?
If you play an advantage, you can't send a player off.
So you can't even book him at that point.
The only thing that will change that is, say, like the Ryan Bertrand one against Leicester, where VAR's gone back and gone clear and obvious mistake, you have to send him off.
That's the second rule you taught me today.
Yeah, good that one.
Nice.
When we had Neil Grover on, obviously with his Marquette playing before they played United, and when we had them on more so with Adam Hopcroft at the start of the season before game week 2, we spoke to Neil about Bournemouth playing 3 at the back. And with Josh King injured, they went back to this at the weekend. interestingly, when Francis got sent off, they went back to a back four, and unbelievably, with 10 men, were actually better. A noticeable one that might have gone by people is Dominic Solanke suffered a hamstring injury at half-time warming up at the weekend. So currently, technically, on the books, Callum Wilson's actually the only fit forward. Not that his place would have been under threat, but it does actually mean that Bournemouth might stay with that back three, which is unpopular for a lot of their fans.
Well, look, 4 of the next 6, Tottenham away, Liverpool at home, Chelsea away, Arsenal at home. And in amongst that, they got Burnley and Crystal Palace, who defensively are obtuse. Is that a good word to use about those two?
Yep.
So, yeah, 6 very tough fixtures coming up for Bournemouth. It's time to say bye-bye to Callum Wilson, mate.
There's nothing here that interests from a Bournemouth perspective. Wolves, we've said Jimenez. And by the way, I really do think it's absolutely fine to buy Adama Traore. I really think he's locked in that team at the moment.
Let's talk about Brighton 0, Leicester 2. We talked about Leicester a little bit on the People's Poll, where they're ruining it for everybody else. But I mean, they're
ruining it because of how good they are, and the good structure at that club is putting pressure on other teams and their management.
Do you know my biggest regret with Leicester? It's not even that I've only had Vardy for 3 weeks. It's missing out on getting Soyuncu. Because they've kept clean sheets in so many games.
So have you got no defensive Leicester coverage? 4
clean sheets in a row. So when I was looking at my restructure of my team, because I benched Yarmolenko this week, so to allow me to have Tammy Abraham and Pulisic instead of Mount, I would have to downgrade Yarmolenko. But if I downgrade Yarmolenko, it's not a big jump from Rico or Kelly to Soyuncu. It's $1 million, and I can just get Dendoncker or Dale Stevens or any of them. So I may end up with Soyuncu because that's going to be the one that I can afford.
Is now a good time to bring up the Leicester-Liverpool argument that we might have done on the People's Poll if the vote had gone differently?
Yeah. Are you talking about Soyuncu, for clarity for the listeners? Soyuncu and Chilwell.
Well, I think it's more Chilwell and Pereira versus Robertson and Alexander-Arnold, isn't it? Chilwell and Pereira are comfortably outscoring them now. Alexander-Arnold's obviously had a real drop-off with, I think it's 1 return in 7. Robertson's been kind of shadowing that and keeping them going. And obviously, whereas it looked like Pereira was having a big run, I mean, they're both getting returns at the moment because of the clean sheets.
And BPS this weekend as well. Both of them picked up BPS.
Chilwell is really stepping up and actually closing in on Pereira's returns. I think that's going to be one of my best signings of the season, Ben Chilwell. I know it was a week after I'd bought Jamie Vardy, but actually just brave enough to go, nah, let's get it done. Returns are coming now. He very easily could have had attacking returns at the weekend. It was Chilwell's free kick. Maddison's not taking all of them for Vardy's header in the first half, and also the one when Vardy stepped inside in the second half and was saved by Ryan was also from a Ben Chilwell cross. It's excellent. Ben
the attacking returns on Ben Chilwell is a goal and an assist this season so far. Trent is at a goal and 4 assists. Robbo is at a goal and 5 assists. So there's only 1 assist between him and Trent and 2 assists between him and Robbo. It's the fact that Leicester have kept 6 clean sheets to Liverpool's 2, and you wouldn't have been able to predict that before the start of the season. I don't think there's anybody who is honest that would have said that they would have thought at this stage of the season Leicester would have kept 3 times as many clean sheets as Liverpool.
Agreed. There are things that are narrowing that. I mean, so De Bruyne is out in front with 12 big chances created so far this season, and it's Alexander-Arnold at 9, and then there's a couple, Sterling, a couple of unders at 7. But if you look after the last 5 game weeks since the previous international break, 2 players equal with 5 for the most big chances created is Yarmolenko, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And Ben Chilwell with 1 more than Trent Alexander-Arnold, also 1 more than Robertson as well. I just feel, for me personally, and it's possibly easier to say because I've got Robertson, Alexander-Arnold and Chilwell, that there's no thought to change that for me. Like, I'm not coming
why
off.
would you? That's just almost
I'm
a
not
set and
coming
forget.
off Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold, but I can understand the frustration. Every single week with Alexander-Arnold, you're looking at it, you're doing the same, 2 points, 2 points, 2 points, and every week Leicester's keeping a clean sheet.
Jamie Vardy is now...
Is it all right for us to keep saying this will change? Because
No,
maybe
but
it
we
won't.
do.
I don't know.
No, but we do. But then people will stop listening to the show and we'll have to start improving our predictions.
I'm absolutely convinced that those clean sheets will keep going for Liverpool. And in any case, I'll repeat what I've said before with them. And I'm beginning to feel like this with Chilwell as well, because of the attacking threat that he particularly is providing. I treat the clean sheets as the bonus at the moment.
9 goals and 3 assists in 7 games for Jamie Vardy. Guy's on fire. People don't keep scoring at this rate. Eventually, he's going to have an off day. But Everton at home, followed by Watford at home, followed by Villa away, followed by Norwich at home. And set and forget captain, mate, for 4 more weeks. I'm not touching that guy.
Well, I think there's an argument. I will actually probably go Mane this weekend at the moment.
Yeah, I'm not touching him.
I think if Marco Silva gets sacked, I'll definitely go Vardy. Do you know what? Captaincy this weekend really could depend on, because Abraham against yourselves as well. It feels like Abraham, Vardy, Mane / Salah would be your main choices for the weekend. If we're still considering Salah in that conversation. Now, I think I would lean towards Mane at the moment because of what I've seen defensively from Brighton against some of the better sides, and seen again at the weekend. Leicester should have won by more. Interestingly, do you know which player in, according to Will's Fantasy Football Hub site, which player had the highest ex-FPL points this weekend gone?
Was it from this game?
Yeah. You don't have to think about it too hard.
Jamie Vardy?
It's Jamie Vardy. Jamie Vardy's ex-FPL points from the weekend was 15.2. The next highest was James Tarkowski at 10.9, James Ward-Prowse 10.8. It's a massive drop down. Also, we say Jamie Vardy's the stats buster, right? Doesn't need as many chances. Well, I don't know what people are going to say now, because he's even having chances. He had the most shots at the weekend with 6. He had the most shots on target with 4. He had the most shots in the box with 6. He had the most big chances with 5. This could have been a monster haul from Jamie Vardy at the weekend.
Yeah, and yet you don't want to captain him this weekend.
No, it's not a case of that. I just feel like
I get it.
It's actually more my decision looking at the weaknesses of others, knowing that a lot of Abraham's returns have actually come in away games. He has blanked in some of these home games that you would have expected him to return.
Agreed.
From that perspective, my choice would be more about Mane versus Vardy, and I just feel there's things where, as much as we've praised Brighton, they're getting exposed in certain circumstances, and Liverpool won't think twice to kill you.
Excuse me. Let's move on, because we still got 5 games to get through. And
bear in mind what we said as well on People's Poll this morning. Believe it or not, Everton, second fewest shots conceded. Unbelievable stat.
Yeah, let's move on. We've got plenty of games to get through. There's not even 10 games to get through, and we've already been chatting for like 40 minutes.
Go.
Crystal Palace 1, Liverpool 2. Palace can really, really consider themselves a little unfortunate here. That, again, another example of VAR just being VAR, really. There's no other way to describe it. Wilf Zaha scoring did make me think, okay, is James now locked into by him?
I don't know.
Have you moved any closer to your decision on Zaha?
I want to get Wilf Zaha in. And I think there was a little bit that just wanted a little bit of light or something. 5 shots from Zaha at the weekend against Liverpool was impressive. Whereas we'd said kind of after the Chelsea games, actually, was it just looking at the fixtures? There'd been nothing to inspire and feel like you could go towards him. Whereas Saturday looked a bit more like Wilf Zaha. 6.6 million. With them fixtures, they are fucking unbelievable, them fixtures. I'm not joking. And the thing is, this is the one thing that's probably fear for me a little bit, is if he goes in, he has to stay in. You've got to run with it with them fixtures. There's no, if you put him in this weekend, he blanks against Burnley and he blanks against Bournemouth. You've got to go and you've got to trust him for those whole 8 games, I think. Yeah.
Look at it as an 8-game block, right? If you got, how many points per game average would you be happy with? 4?
From Zaha with them fixtures, I'd want 40 points from him.
40 points from 8, so 5 points per game. And that's the way to look at it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If you get 40 points from 8 games, and if they come in the first game, he gets a hat-trick and a clean sheet and BPS, and he's on 20 points, you're halfway there, right? And then just hold him and ride it out for the rest.
That's more points, by the way, than he's scored so far this season. Worth saying.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit more put off this week. One of the things I'm trying, so I've gone Pookie to Jordan Ayew, which I've already done. I've got 2.4 million in the bank. I'm not as desperate to do it now because I see what Sean Dyche has done with Burnley in the last 2 games, obviously 2 back-to-back 3-0 wins. I feel less desperate to do that ahead of that particular fixture. I kind of want to, I can go Cantwell to Zaha, but I'm wondering if I might be better off going Benjamin Mendy because of the rotation with them obviously having midweek fixtures next week. Might be better off going Mendy to Charlie Taylor, ironically, first, which is going to give me a little bit more. That little bit more, by the way, does not get me Todd Cantwell to Heung-min Son. If anybody was wondering, it doesn't. It leaves me about $1 million short. I'm not put off. One of the things I have heard mentioned about Zaha is obviously that run of 8 fixtures. 5 of them are away. We think they're a better side away from home anyway.
Defensively, sure, but
I think going forward
maybe
as well. Yeah, absolutely. I think they struggle a little bit when teams come in and sit in. And the interesting thing about the 3 home fixtures for Palace in that period, Bournemouth, Brighton and West Ham, are probably 3 teams who are not necessarily going to sit in, I would say. So, yeah, I've got real confidence in it. I don't know. The problem is you keep looking and going, fucking hell, can I look past Pulisic against West Ham this weekend? That's the problem. Is it being stubborn going Wilfried Zaha? I feel like 7.6% ownership. If I'm right, it will jump and it will jump fast.
True.
I haven't decided.
Any other thoughts on Liverpool other than copy paste of what we've been talking about for a while? It's Firmino, it's Robbo and Trent are still there at the back if you want. Mane is the one. The only thing is now that Mane and Salah have levelled off in price at 12.2
Nothing
million.
to add on Liverpool other than 2 things. One, obviously, Salah's injury is a continuing concern, but Jurgen Klopp did say that essentially he was fit. He hadn't trained enough. They made a decision he'll play in the Champions League this midweek. Probably more of interest when we keep saying, yeah, clean sheets are coming around the corner. Fabinho, 5th booking at the weekend, will miss the game against Brighton.
Everton 0, Norwich 1. Everton fans are really, really pissed off at the moment. I suppose, is there any if there's ever a silver lining or anything, I mean, I look at Everton, they've got 1 more point than us, but their fixture run now is taking a hideous turn. I don't think there's any Everton assets that we're looking at from an FPL point of view. If you trust the Premier League's FDR, which is not great at the best of times, Leicester away, Liverpool away, Chelsea at home, United away, Arsenal at home, Burnley at home, Newcastle away. Both of those 2 are obtuse defensively, followed by City away. They could end up on the 1st of January having picked up a couple of points at best, maybe 2 or 3 points. They're in a similar situation to us. I said on the Tottenham show, right, offer me 6 points between now and the end of the year, I'll take it. 6 points between now and the end of the year, I'll take it.
I mean, for Everton Football Club, in spite of the fixtures, that's not good enough. Even whatever the fixtures are.
It's not
they
good
could
enough.
be paying the top 8 in the next 8. They need to be picking up more than a point a game, honestly.
Yeah, I feel like we should as well.
But they're probably not good enough. Like if you're in a position and it's completely understandable, you would have gone into this weekend, I know Ben Crellin is fucking obviously amazing with his spreadsheets. He's an extremely good FPL player. Statistically, he looked at it. He captained Luca Dean at the weekend. You couldn't even particularly argue it. Just go, Jesus Christ, Norwich are so impotent. The way Dean creates chances, etc.
Everton,
in a difficult week for captaincy.
Statistically, I don't think it's like Everton fall into that same bracket as Arsenal and United, hot and cold. And I just don't want to touch any teams where they're hot and cold in that way, if I can help it.
If you still own Dean, Richarlison, Sigurdsson for God knows what reason, or I don't know, Moyes Ken's sitting on your bench, just get rid. Just fuck it off, mate. Like, honestly, get it.
Until Moyes is back in charge.
It doesn't even matter with them fixtures, mate. They haven't got good enough footballers. Certainly, we think at this stage that it probably will end up being David Moyes till the end of the season. Like, he ain't going to change a lot other than getting them probably working a little bit harder and a little bit more back to basics.
I don't agree with you that they haven't got good enough footballers. I think that
they haven't at the moment with them injuries until they get like Gabam fit in midfield and that. They're really going to struggle, mate.
But the likes
just going to get absolutely overrun in midfield.
Sigurdsson, Richarlison, Bernard, these guys are not bad. I suppose you're talking about in the engine room.
They're not bad, but they're static. I spoke about this on People's Poll this morning. Like, they brought players in with pace. They're not utilising that. They play static. We've got Sean on Clash of the Correspondents Fairs. It'd be really interesting to hear what he's going to say. But I know he's frustrated. He certainly wants Silva gone. There's no doubt about it in his mind. I do want to talk about Norwich briefly. There was a couple. Is there
an improvement here? Tim Krul, maybe?
Well, there's a couple of. I'm not saying go and buy them. Obviously not. They play Arsenal this weekend, which, depending on what Arsenal turn up this weekend, Norwich might get another result. But there was some subtle changes at the weekend. The first thing to say is Christopher Zimmerman, with basically no training, come straight back into the team and performed well at centre-half. Now, that might make a little psychological difference, the fact that they've, with Zimmerman and Godfrey in there, they are going back to two centre-halves. What was more interesting was the fact that Stiepermann, who I like as a footballer, and Buendia, who got a lot of attention at the start of the season, were both left out. Essentially, they had Hernandez with the pace, Todd Cantwell kind of floating off the right, and McLean playing kind of at 10. They were very interchangeable. Looking at the highlights, there was times where McLean would end up left, Hernandez on the right. It gave Everton, who are quite a stationary team, some problems. And that little bit more fluidity, it just gave Norwich a little bit more energy. Because Buendia and Stiepermann are quite static. They want the ball to feet. They're good. They're cultured players. But Cantwell and McLean, and obviously Hernandez pace, just gives them a little bit more energy. It might be something to watch. The recommendation would still be, obviously, sell your Norwich assets if you have them. I am still coming off Cantwell, who, by the way, did leave Goodison in a protective boot, but apparently just precautionary he's right. Could be okay for the weekend.
Watford 0, Burnley 3. Do you remember from Clash of the Correspondents what we all predicted for that game?
I went 1-0 Watford.
I think I went with the Burnley win.
You did. You definitely didn't say 3-0 though.
No. I didn't expect a 3-0 win, to be honest with you. But Burnley now still have a number of FPL assets that are can be considered. Barnes and Wood on the score sheet again. Wood's now picking up some consistency, and he's a threat. And he's a real differential at 1.1%. I'd take him over any of the other strikers that are around 6.1, 6.2, Ings or what have you. Even Ayew, you've got to find a way to just find that extra point, whatever you need to. And Pope's only gone up to 4.7. I don't think Pope's a bad shout either.
No, of course he isn't. I mean, there's difficult fixtures. He's kind of a mixed bag for Burnley. Palace at home this week, and then Man City at home next midweek, Tottenham away. It's a mixed bag for them. Their fixtures aren't great, aren't bad.
I could see them coming to your place and giving you a game.
Oh,
Sean Dyche can set them up.
They'll give Man City a game next midweek. Yeah. Like, City ain't going to go there and win 5-0, mate.
Unlike if you're looking at the Arsenals, West Hams, Evertons, who can blow hot or cold 99% of the time, Burnley, at least they're going to give you 100%
That's why I mentioned
effort.
about, say, like for me and Mendy this weekend, because I'm just looking at it from a fixture point of view and going, would he fancy Angelino getting roughed up at Burnley?
No.
He might play Mendy in the midweek fixture. I don't know.
You say that. I mean, we're going to get onto the City-Chelsea game. The way that Kante bossed Mendy around a little bit was a little enlarged. I was like, that's a bit amusing.
Yeah, we can come back onto that, but I actually, at least Mendy tracked the run, actually. It wasn't actually necessarily his responsibility from the left-back position to be the one tracking it, by the way.
But you wouldn't expect him to get out-muscled by Kante. Although Kante's
subtle.
strong player.
On Burnley, the one thing that always, every week, I mean, every time I look at a mini-league and I look at a team and I think, very similar team to me. How did you get more? I look up and there's fucking Nick Pope. It's like every week.
Yeah.
Yeah, really think Charlie Taylor at 4.2. That's why, I mean, I wouldn't advise people to go to Pope now. You got Nick Pope, it's brilliant, crack on. But yeah, I would strongly advise Charlie Taylor now, back in 2 consecutive clean sheets. Really good, solid. Don't be blinded by James Tarkowski's incredible statistic of not only being the, I believe, the top scoring player this game week gone with 17 points, he was actually also the joint top scorer the week before with 12 points against West Ham. At 0.8 million cheaper, do look at Charlie Taylor rather than James Tarkowski. Don't be blinded by those points. People will be, because they'll look at Tarkowski and go, fucking hell, he's got 20 more points. But it's an anomaly. Remember, that goal he scored at the weekend was his first in a year. As good as they are from set pieces, it's unusual for Burnley.
The vote went out for the People's Poll last night, and the four managers that you mentioned in the vote were Silva, Pellegrini, Solskjaer, and Emery. There were a few mentions of Kiko Sanchez-Flores in the comments by a couple of people saying that he should be added to that list as well. Guy's been there for like 6 games.
Do you know what? If they'd scored first here, it would have been a very different game. They played okay in the first half, and then they go behind and the heads go down.
Yeah, similar to what we do.
They're in a position at the moment, Watford, where I think like the way he sets them up tactically, if they score first, they can hang on and win games. But they haven't. Stephen spoke about his 6th goal a lot on Clash of the Correspondents last week. It's like it's not enough goals in the side, and once they go behind, they'll get exposed. Burnley exposed deficiencies certainly at set pieces at the weekend.
Man City 2, Chelsea 1 at the weekend on the late kickoff on the Saturday. Probably one of the most enjoyable games I've watched for a while, to be honest. To come home from the game at the London Stadium and to watch that open game, Man City played well. I thought Chelsea played well and gave a really good account of themselves, considering the difficulty they'd had against Manchester United at the start of the season. They had you mentioned that stat, the highest possession in a league game against the Guardiola
I'm sure
side.
that's what I saw. Yeah, in any league game, that includes his time at Barcelona and Bayern. Highest possession against a Guardiola team in a league game.
I think ultimately the quality told in the end. City just had that little bit of extra class, but Chelsea could easily have nicked something from the game. I think if it was a draw, nobody could have complained about it at all. But Kante proved an attacking threat, as he has for the last kind of 18 months, 2 years. 18 months where
every shot he's had this season's been on target, apparently.
Really?
Yeah.
There's got to come a time where we think of him in a different light.
Jamie Vardy's a stat buster as well.
A goal and a clean sheet in the last 2.
I tell you what, if it's going to stay with Jorginho, Kovacic, who was splendid again, and Kante, he's the one who will be the runner. A little bit like it was last year, but they struggled a little bit more with that because it was obviously a slower pace. Now you've got people like Kovacic or Jorginho now who are looking to, it's not long ball, but they'll look for that pass now.
Long pass through, yeah.
So under Sarri last year, it was only really David Luiz would look for that pass, and because of the distance there, it's never going to be Kante on the end of it. It was often last year David Luiz was looking for Pedro with that ball, for example. So yeah, he's running for midfield. I don't really see how you could justify picking him over Mount or Pulisic though.
Well, it's price dependent, isn't it? He's a different price bracket. Any thoughts on moving from Mount to Pulisic?
Yeah,
because this is the debate. I would say I was 6 or 7 out of 10 on the way of making it happen.
It's a concern because you're looking at this when I go, all right, I'm potentially needing Jordan Ayew on the bench, or if I buy Zaha, whisper it quietly, it might even be John Lundstrom or Benjamin Mendy on the bench. So it's going to be a headache. I think we probably all going to have to, in terms of building towards game week 18, probably all going to have to deal with the odd headache in terms of bench problems in the next couple of weeks. There's a Champions League game this week, which hopefully is going to give us a little bit more clues. I thought it would be Mount rather than Pulisic. I think Ted's thought rotation FPL, when we spoke to him the week before, thought that he couldn't really leave Pulisic out. Kovacic, as we've said numerous times, is playing so well. But different fixtures coming up with sort of West Ham Villa this weekend. He might think, well, do I need Kovacic, Kante, Jorginho?
Yeah, I don't think he'll need the three. He can drop one from Mount.
But then they're playing so well, I don't really know the answer.
I'm not reading too much into the Mount dropping necessarily from this week, but more the fixture against City. He's just gone with a slightly more robust midfield.
They play in Valencia this midweek in the Champions League, which is a big game. You could question that in terms of how they might set up. It might be very similar to how they would have set up at Man City. So more clues. But how they've set up in those two games, they might set up completely different to West Ham and Villa at home. So I feel like at the moment I've got to hold and take a chance. And if he doesn't play the Saturday, I've probably got to hold again because then I'll think, oh, he'll definitely play against Villa. Do you know what I mean? So it's a difficult one.
I think I'm going to make the move to Christian Pulisic this week, depending on what other moves. I've got 2 free transfers, so I can do some surgery this week. Let's just settle it in one word. Kevin De Bruyne's fucking just different gravy, that boy, man.
We said enough from De Bruyne.
The thing with De Bruyne is that his double-digit returns from the start of the season are around the corner from my point of view. So, the question on a lot of people's lips, I haven't looked at the Twitter questions yet, but I guarantee there's going to be at least 5 that are, now that Aguero's injured, do we hold Raheem?
Well, that's what we need to talk about. It's not so much Raheem. I think, look, whenever you come off Raheem Sterling, it's going to be risky. He's got a decent record in fixtures against Newcastle, to my understanding. You're probably going to face the consequences if you come out. That's why I sold him when they played at Liverpool. It's like he never returned to Anfield, although he well could have on the day. That was the best time to come off. Gabriel Jesus, 5 returns in 462 minutes so far this season, which for those paying attention equates to 590 minutes and 12 minutes. So essentially a return just over every 90, and with the consistency of him getting, we think, maybe 90 minutes, there is an undercurrent of people who at 9.5 million and 1.6% owned will not hesitate to go and get Jesus. We spoke a couple of weeks ago and said if one gets injured, fire in the other one.
The only caveat to that right now is we don't know with Aguero. It's an unknown return date. So all we've heard from Guardiola, he's going to struggle to be fit for the derby.
Yeah, he won't play against Man United.
We've heard this so many times from managers before, and players miraculously suddenly are fit. I don't believe a word that comes out of any Premier League manager's mouth. So, you know what? Take it as it is. I think I just would hold fire. I don't see people jumping onto Jesus that quickly that his price is going to rise. And I don't see people coming off Aguero that quickly that his price is going to drop. So just my advice would probably be a little bit of patience in the next.
But Aguero is going to miss the next 3 games. Like, if you own Sergio Aguero, you have to sell him.
Do you think so?
Yeah, I believe him. Yeah, I believe him. Because of his history as well. So, you know, with Aguero, we say it so many times, it's a problem with him that you know at some stage he's going to break down. So, yeah, at the moment, I would take that on face value. The Man United game is only 12 days from now. So I would take that on face value that, yes, he's going to miss at least the next 3 games, which are Newcastle away, Burnley away, and Man United at home. I don't know, am I that keen to... Jesus wouldn't be a consideration for me. That might be value issues where I couldn't move off Vardy or Abraham. I mean, if you've got Vardy, Abraham and Jimenez, I don't think Jesus even comes in. He doesn't even come in your faults, does he?
He's not going to outscore him particularly.
I mean, at that value, honestly, truthfully, even though it is Jesus for Man City, remember it's Arsenal away and Leicester at home and Wolves away after that United game if Aguero is out longer. Are you going to captain Jesus in any of them games? Not that you need to at a 9.5 million valuation, but just you're going to be shifting funds. He's at Jamie Vardy's value, essentially. You're going to be shifting funds and probably taking a hit to make it happen. I think the advice would be don't.
Let's wrap up with...
He'll tear it up this weekend now.
If he does, he does.
Yeah,
Let's
exactly.
wrap up with Sheffield United 3, Manchester United 3, because we've got to get a few Twitter questions in before we wrap up the show, and we're running out of time slowly and surely. There was a point here where it was literally going to be a Sheffield United rout almost, wasn't it? They were just so much better than Manchester United, and Yo-Yo Lundstrom's Twitter mentions Yo-Yo'd like from the first half an hour. It was Lord Lundstrom, greatest player ever.
I mean, it is worth
to completely dropping off. Like, I'll take my 3 points off him and be happy.
It's only Andy from Let's Talk that doesn't own John Lundstrom. Everybody else does.
For how much longer?
I'll be honest, when Sheffield United are playing, it really is worth staying off Twitter.
Yeah,
there's just so much chat about Lundstrom. Obviously, look, could have very easily been a double-digit haul again here. De Gea made a good save from him early in the game when McGoldrick absolutely should have scored from the second cross that came in, headed straight at De Gea. And obviously, he should have scored himself for the assist for John Fleck's goal. He's still essential. He's going to hit 5 million this week. You've probably got to get him in and get on with it.
And you're going to play him
because they're a good side. I think the thing for me watching the game was... I was sitting out. I felt it was a big statement to make when I said on Tottenham when we were talking about Sheffield United in detail, and I was like, they'll beat Man United. And I didn't have any doubt about it. And then when I saw the team, and obviously we knew Henderson wouldn't play, I thought Egan missing would be a blow. And I think actually towards the end of the game,
that was the deciding factor, really, wasn't it?
I don't know, because literally
Influence.
Man United had a 10-minute spell, but I think they did miss him in that area because actually even on like the Rashford's third goal, Jagielka just got a little bit deeper than necessary because he's going to protect himself. And actually Jagielka played quite well, actually, I thought. But I didn't have any doubt pre-game before I'd seen the teams that Sheffield United would win because they're a better football team than Man
I'm
United.
with you. It was my son's birthday. We had a little birthday party for some of the kids from school. One of the dads was a United fan, so we wrapped up about 3:30. We were just having a chat. I thought he was a Liverpool fan, and he said, "No, Man United." I was like, "Oh, looking forward to the game," and he just shook his head. Nah, this is going to be a tough one. Sheffield United are tearing up stuff. Just you look at it, and you know what I'm jealous about is Chris Wilder. Like, it's just a manager that has some real fire in his belly.
Yeah, and obviously there's plenty talking about double ups. Obviously, I think Henderson now comes back under consideration for those who've been looking off, sort of like Tom Heaton move, for example, that kind of thing. People looking to move away would come under consideration for me. I'd be quite happy with Lundstrom. I think be cautious and watch out for news on Muse. What Muse and McGoldrick do really well is probably the one thing I didn't mention from that Tottenham after we played Sheffield United was how well Muse and McGoldrick get into the channels and give Sheffield United a constant outball. If the ball comes into the wide centre half, they just hit the channel. And that's what I said, Sheffield United will bypass the easy pass. It's not long ball football. It's bypassing a position to move the ball forward quickly. Muse's second goal was fantastic. I'm pleased that the goal, albeit controversial, from McBurney was given because that would have been a travesty if they'd lost that game of football. And I think if United lost, that was in Manchester United, this morning we would have been talking about Solskjaer as much as we were talking about Marco Silva and that. And escapes. I guess he deserves some credit for the substitutions where he threw the kitchen sink at it a little bit with forward players. You could then argue just as critical, so then it felt like just keep attacking and Sheffield United would never score, going a little bit more defensive by taking Martial off, who I thought was so poor, by the way. He just sometimes looks so disinterested in games. I have a question for you, Suj. How many forwards have scored more FPL points this season than Marcus Rashford?
Tammy Abraham, Sergio Aguero. I'm going to say about 4. I know Rashford is he's in the top 10 or 12 point scorers of the season so far. I'm going to go with 4.
There are only 2
close.
FPL
One is
forwards
Tammy Abraham,
who have scored more than Marcus Rashford. Obviously, Jamie Vardy, Tammy Abraham. He is level on 74 points with Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Now 2 more than Aguero, 6 more than Raul Jimenez. He is 8.6 million, and it's worth saying about Marcus Rashford as well. There's 2 missed penalties in there as well. These returns could have been a lot higher.
Yeah, he's consistent, and you know with Rashford as well that he's going to get the minutes. He's played pretty much. He started every game this season so far, and he's completed the majority of them.
And if you don't want to go for Raul Jimenez, you can go Vardy, Abraham, and Rashford for VAR.
For a rash, I thought there was something worse than that coming out.
For VAR.
Yeah, I get it. As opposed to Vardy, Abraham, and Jimenez, that'll be your vag.
Yeah, that one.
Okay, fine. And on that note,
I don't know. Well, I don't know if we're looking at. I passed Marcus Rashford is not under consideration for me. There is it's a decent Christmas spell. They're in and out. He's got some tough fixtures, but they've got some attractive fixtures as well.
14.8% Rashford ownership right now, which is not too dissimilar to Jimenez. Is only at 15.2 or something like that. They're in that same kind of bracket. It's just that 1.2 million, isn't it, at the moment?
It's just interesting, I think, because a lot of the attention has been on Martial as OOP, that this has gone very under the radar. Must be said that 74 points is still 30 less than Jamie Vardy.
Yeah, but Vardy's a machine, though, at the moment. I don't think it's fair to compare anyone to Jamie Vardy. We're talking about captaincy. I actually, I'm captaining Vardy again this weekend. I think that Leicester believe that they can catch Liverpool. I think their mindset is we're going to catch Liverpool, as opposed to let's just finish second or do the best we possibly can. And that says a lot, right? The ruthless nature with which they're approaching games is let's win everything and score as many goals as we can. And that gives me the confidence to put the armband on him more than other teams where they go one down and they fall like a deck of cards or a house of cards or whatever.
He mentions before the Brighton game that from the 5 fixtures they would need to take, in my opinion, to have a chance of a title challenge, 13 points. You might argue they've got the most difficult of the 5 games out away. Everton at home, Watford at home, Villa away, Norwich at home. You now look at that and go, is 10 points even acceptable there? If they want to fight for the title, it's got to be 12, isn't it?
It's got to be 12 from those. Yeah,
I mean, drawing at Villa wouldn't be a disaster. You don't really know if there'll be a response on Everton if the manager changes the weekend. But yeah, what a brilliant 4 fixtures they have on paper there. You can't look beyond them. That's what I'm saying about Zaha. We're really going to look past Pulisic and Maddison. I don't know if that's just insanity if I do that.
No. Shall we move on to some Twitter questions? How long have we been chatting for, mate? 1:10.
We can do 20 minutes, nearly.
We can indeed. I was going to suggest having a quick look at North v South because there's something that I'm beating you in, and it's only 100 points now. But I wanted to do one thing, which is give a shout out to Daniel McCready.
Okay.
So we have our Planet FPL regular league that any listeners can join. We don't make a big deal of tweeting out the code and getting as many people to join the league. No, because
I told people they had to join before the end of August. Now everybody's going to ask me for the code, and I've already said it's shut the end of August.
But the point is, we had
said
a good, how many thousand people are in this league? I have no idea. But all the people that made the effort of entering have never been given any credit on the show whatsoever. And Daniel McCready right now is sitting pretty at the top. Rogers, the cabin boy, is his team.
Well done, Daniel.
Overall rank, have a stab. He's on 863 points right now.
54th.
68. Not far off, mate. Not far off. So he's doing particularly well. Leicester City fan. So obviously he's got Vardy and Tielemans and Siyuncu and probably had him since the start of the season. So yeah, Daniel, well done. Twitter questions.
I went up in every mini league this week except the correspondent league.
Really?
Fucking jokers.
I went up in most of my mini
leagues. See that Pringle?
Well.
Pringle's already, he's snapping up a bit of a lead now.
Is he?
Again.
He's probably redeveloped. Do you remember when we did the 30 and 30? He talks about an algorithm that he wrote a few years ago, and then his mates didn't want to play with him because he was beating them all the time. Yeah. But 74 points, Johnny, so far this week. He's doing all right. Just having a cheeky look, and he's got no one left to play. But there you go. Twitter questions.
Let's
do
something.
Let's start with our mate Ron Weasley, who is probably as annoyed and depressed as I am with the West Ham result.
Probably because he knows his fucking tattoo's going to get him relegated, I suppose.
Well, the tattoo makes a mention in the question.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to read Ron's question as he has written it. Good evening is how he starts. Ron Weasley.
I don't know if this is becoming racist.
Well, if it is, and anyone,
we apologise if anyone's offended. Yeah,
apologise.
Good evening.
But there was the thing where the Sky interviewer almost kind of mocked it in his own way.
I thought that was a bit out of order.
Yeah, did he do it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, fine.
Yeah, the Sky reporter literally said to him, good evening, Unai. It wasn't a very good evening for you.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, and he knows that the first thing Emery's going to say is good evening.
Right.
Yeah, it was a bit...
Ron's question of the day, I'm going to give you the 4 options. I know there's a clear winner on this already. Which of these is the most sackable offence? Marouane Chamak's hairline. That was pretty bad.
I don't know if it's worse than mine.
The state of Roberto's attempt at being a Premier League goalkeeper.
That's not even an attempt.
Yeah, that's accompanied by a poo emoji. Ron Weasley's cursed tattoo. Since he's got the tattoo, and for the listeners that don't know, he's had the irons tattooed on his boob, on his chest. He's not.
What's the record since? Ain't one of you.
Played 6, drawn 1. Played 6, drawn 1, lost 5, and counting. And look him low, sniffing his crotch on the touchline.
Oh no, it's definitely that, mate.
Dodgy, eh? That was pretty dodgy.
Yeah, he was all like sniffing his armpits and putting his fingers down his pants and having a whiff, weren't he? Yeah, slightly strange.
Very weird.
But then he won a World Cup, so he probably doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah, I mean, whenever I see anything where Roberto is an option, he's the best answer. So, I mean, he is bad at the moment. Even the punch that he came out for, and I don't know why he had to. This is his pose, right? Always.
Did you see the tweet that I put out for the questions? Obviously, you're looking at it, but one of the pictures was of Mora's goal. He's still doing that stance again.
It's always this. Why is it like? Is he trying to make himself big all the time? He's done it in about 4
games. But he
games
doesn't even
now.
make himself big. His hands come above his head like they're clawing. He doesn't even make himself bigger.
Someone needs to tell him that Halloween finished fucking 2 weeks ago or something, 3 weeks ago. I'm saying that Roberto's attempt is by far and away the most
It has to be
sackable
Joachim
offence.
Low. That's disgraceful, man.
Yeah, maybe. And Ron, do something about that tattoo. I don't know what.
Keep the tattoo, Ron. We love it.
Anybody's got suggestions on how it can be turned into like a bouquet of flowers or something? You need to fill it in a little bit. Let's see. Question coming in from Chris Woods. Chris_Woods is a regular question answer. Is it time to ditch Pope? I'm confused, mate. Surely not. Nick Pope's a set and forget, isn't he?
I don't see why he'd come off Nick Pope. I mean, like I said, there's difficult fixtures coming up with, I guess, Man City at home, Tottenham away. I think you'd certainly keep for Palace at home this weekend. It probably depends a little bit in terms of where you're at. While there are certain teams, we've kind of spoke about Zaha a lot, but obviously, I mean, even though he's a little bit more expensive, I think, Gator, PVA, can these guys, Jordan Ayew, I've bought in as, I mean, I'm not going to start Jordan Ayew very often.
You've already bought him, have you?
Fucking hell, you've been listening to this podcast.
I thought you said
you've been on
delayed the Pookie to
I did
Ayew.
it Saturday night.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah.
I knew you delayed
All right
it.
there,
I didn't hear that you actually said that you then went and did it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's done. That's what I was talking about. Mousse scored and I was like, shit, I've made a mistake.
Sorry, okay, yeah, I get it.
Thank you. Yeah.
You should tweet out these things.
Joel Ward, having recovered from injury against Chelsea, got injured again against Liverpool at the weekend. So Martin Kelly may still get minutes. So I think like Palace is one you can definitely be looking at. You might want to look back at Sheffield United. Wolves have still got a good run for a few weeks. If you want to look at maybe Patricio. I think if you've got the wild card, there might be a temptation beyond the Palace game to think, can I make more gains out of a keeper in the 4 to 5 weeks before I might use that at the end? And yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about possibly moving Tom Heaton on before I use mine in a couple of weeks, because I don't think Villa's fixtures are great beyond the fixture tonight. But yeah, no, I would probably just stick with Pope. If you've got no problems, like fine, have a look. But that's not a like, oh, I've got to come off. No way.
No.
I just never think it's worth like bothering with the keepers. I've been looking at Heaton going, I've got Man United away, Chelsea away. He saves a penalty in one of them too.
Yeah. Question coming in from our friend Lee at FPL Family. I've just bought a pair of Sondico gloves and I'm not afraid to dive about a bit. Can I have a game for the Hammers next weekend?
The only thing that
anyone can go.
The only thing that matters is, because I haven't watched the stream yet, Lee. Apologies. You watched it.
Yes.
He gave me a shout out.
He did.
Did he?
I don't know if he gave you a shout out because I haven't seen all of the stream. It's an hour and a half long, mate.
I'm having it.
He gave me a shout out.
I want the shout. Lee, let me know the minute, because he sent a tweet out.
That he gave
Friday
you a shout
night. No, he sent a tweet out Friday night. He was like, I'm going to do something never done before. So I'm reading the responses.
Yeah. Oh, I saw it was burn a transfer.
Fucker's going to burn a transfer.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
I like Lee, you know. I'm not going to let him do that. Gilbert to Charlie Taylor, that advice for free. A couple of minutes later. Yeah, that's all right, actually. So I went and looked at his team on Saturday, and sure enough, he did it, didn't he?
Good.
Charlie Taylor in.
Nice one. Lee, the only thing I would say is, yes,
Left
you can,
him on the bench and didn't get that clean sheet.
Anyone can
though.
have it. Lee broke my heart on the stream because he said that he talked about Rodrigo playing in goal for West Ham for a couple of minutes. And I was like, Rodrigo, shit, maybe this has all been some kind of parallel thing, and we've actually got a keeper called Roberto that hasn't played yet, and we can get him in. But no. Lee, anyone, I'll take anyone. I think Lee's got a son who's about 2 years old. I'll have him in goal, mate, if I can know. Anyone in goal ahead of Roberto.
Kyle Walker, he ain't playing for City at the moment.
Yeah, I'll take
How
Kyle
bad
Walker.
is this Martin you got from Millwall? He must be awful.
No, we said it on Tottenham. I've never seen him play. So
We don't know.
no,
Any Millwall listeners, they can't be after that racism podcast.
No.
If there are any, tell me, what's Martin like?
Yeah. Ainsley FPL, he has asked us to release the African Premier League all-time 11. So I'll tell you what we'd do, FPL Ainsley, Christmas, when there's any football going on at Christmas or anything. We'll do it around then.
No, I'll tell you what we'll do.
Show.
People's poll at some point in the next couple of weeks. We'll put the options out, so you've got to pick one, like African or South American or something. Yeah, we'll have a laugh. Maybe over Christmas, that'd be good.
The only thing with these pick a 15 or 11, like top English 11 or whatever, they do take a little bit of time, so it can't be a people's poll. It's half an hour.
You've got to bring your team in advance and we'll debate it.
And
still, you'll agree with me.
We chat. I don't think half an hour is going to be realistic.
How difficult is it to go, yeah, all right, Mane, Salah, Drogba up front? It's not that difficult.
I think that's pretty straightforward. FPL, FP Louis Huey. Who would you bench this week coming out of Tomori, Mount, Jimenez, and Soyuncu? Oh. Tough one, isn't it?
Jesus.
I'm going to say out of Mount and Tomori, you go Mount because of the attacking potential.
It's brutal.
Yeah, I'd say Mount. I'd say Tomori.
Sell one of them.
I'd say Tomori, mate.
There are going to be a lot of people in that situation this week because of, particularly I think because of Chelsea and Leicester's very attractive fixtures. I would probably be tempted from that to leave our fucking hell Tomori. Tough. You make a case for Mount as well, even. That's tough.
It is a very tough situation. How have you landed yourself in that?
Let me know though. Is that include John Lundstrom in your team, or is he out of it as well? Lundstrom would be a difficult one for people this week away to Wolves.
Yeah,
I would prefer to play him. It's just scary. Like, it could have been double points again yesterday.
We've got a few questions here that we've already answered, talking about the double up. A few questions around Tottenham assets as well. Do tune into Tot and Ham, where we go into a little bit more detail. If you had Sterling and KDB, which one would you make way? Which one would you use to make way for Heung-min Son? I ask that particularly badly. Sterling or KDB, which one goes out for Son? That's better.
Well, that's Sterling rather than KDB 2 weeks ago. So
you'd think Sterling is still the one. With the injury and stuff, you don't think that there's more with injury to Aguero. You don't think that Sterling potentially has got more.
I don't think Aguero being injured makes Sterling more attractive. It makes him less attractive, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Who has the worst haircut in the history of football and on the podcast? I've got hair.
It's me, yeah.
I haven't started greying yet either.
I badly need a haircut.
Do you do it yourself?
No, I go down to barbers. Lazy fucker.
Yeah, I mean, it's a chance to actually get out of the house for like an hour and just have some peace and quiet as well, isn't it?
Do you know what? Last time I got my haircut was fucking ages ago. It was when we played Watford, I think.
Yeah.
We ain't done too bad since. We ain't been losing many. I might just let it grow. Nah, it's not happening, mate. It's not happening. Worst haircut ever.
In football.
Worst haircut ever.
David Luiz, Sideshow Bob.
Nah, it's just stupid, isn't it? It's not the worst.
I'm not particularly, I'll tell you what, I'm not particularly into all these go faster stripes and stuff. Like Richarlison's hairline, the way he has it. And
Bamiyang with his stars in his neck and shit.
I'm not into all that go faster stripes or crazy creativity in your hair. But
go faster stripes.
Yeah, that's what Rashford had, didn't he? Like,
is that what it is?
That's what they're called.
Just like a fade or something.
No, he had like zigzags and all that kind of stuff in his hair a little while ago. That stuff I'm not really into.
You know whose hair always strikes me and never really gets mentioned is Mane's, actually. Because
it's odd.
Yeah, it comes back like halfway, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like if you actually
semi-balding.
Next time you see him, if you actually look at the top of his head, you go, shit, he's a lot older than I think he is, actually.
Yeah.
Mane just needs to go full on bald, I think. Ronaldo's 2002 Brazilian one. Remember when he had that little bit at the front?
Oh, yeah.
That's
and
the
rest. Yeah. There's been plenty. Fat Ronaldo, when he just had that little bit at the front as well, and the rest was completely shaved off.
So I'm talking about Fat Ronaldo.
Oh, sorry, I thought you was about Cristiano Ronaldo.
Do you listen to me?
What are we talking about? Do you know what? I'm actually now conscious of time, and I'm thinking, let's get through a couple more of these before we wrap up. Gustav can't wait for Tottenham this week, but his question for this show is, if you're behind in a league, we all have template teams with 1 or 2 differentials. Is it worth staying with the pack right now or sneak past little by little? Because we're still.
Well, I'm looking at it, and I've been a bit frustrated with my returns, but I'm
Lack
just
of progress,
I'm
you
making small little gains every little week. I'm getting there, you know.
Was your overall rank a green arrow this week?
I had 60k rise
Okay.
with heating to go tonight.
all
So
right.
I should come out. That should kind of be worst case scenario for me
Almost
tonight.
200k,
really.
right?
So I'm at 247k now. So I've been, you know, I've had 4 greens in a row and I've only jumped about 150k. But I'm getting there. I'm getting there. The problem is you have that 1 week, like I said, where if Lundstrom hadn't come on for me against Burnley,
Yeah.
oh, fuck, I dropped like 300k because of that one decision if he hadn't come on. So
Stay here, mate.
there is an argument to just staying with the pack at the moment.
Yeah, fair play.
But you know, get one in, get out Zaha in, or you know, even these people like Jimenez, Rashford, Pulisic, they some of the ownership of the others, they'll do you a great job if they get you returns.
That will be that for the questions, because most of the others we have covered either in this show or Tottenham. A lot of people asking about Spurs assets and that kind of thing.
Loads of that. If you're wondering why I didn't abuse Suj, there's loads of it on Tottenham tomorrow.
I think James was quite tame, considering.
To be honest, it
considering the
always is,
potential.
because whenever we beat you, and I think, oh, I'm gonna get him at the week. I'm gonna take the piss out of him, and I get in, I'm like, it's only fucking West Ham. What's the point of going too mental for?
Yeah, and I'm also quite. To be fair, we don't pay pound for pound, player for player. You have the better team right now, right?
Do you think?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Even on top form. Look, we beat you at your place at the back end of last season, right? Player for player, you still had the better
We
team.
had a Champions League final 3 days later. We didn't give a shit.
3 days later, my ass.
Excuse me, we didn't play Ajax 3 days later. Yes, we did.
It wasn't a final.
No, it was a semi-final.
You just said a final.
Well, I knew we'd get there.
Yeah, you can get your excuses out if you want. You're never going to want to lose any game of football. I just think you got to get your house in order before you're going to start throwing shit at other people, because it will always come back and bite you in the bum. And we're not at that
true.
place right now.
My house still needs sorting. It's true.
We're just not in that place right now. You can crow all you want about this weekend. It wouldn't surprise me if Spurs lost at Bournemouth, but we're not going to turn this into Tottenham. Couple of other little bits and pieces, because Manchild is sitting in the room. Manchild has confirmed that he is going to be at the FPL meetup on the 13th of December.
Oh, really?
Manchild in the house. So anybody that is curious as to whether or not he's a man that's a child or a child that's a man,
You know what?
he's going to be there.
Made me fucking remember. Ashley Westwood, 5th booking, suspended Saturday as well.
Ashley Westwood is not playing next weekend, mate. Although Manchild did put a tweet out saying people need to captain him if they're on the
Does that
FPL
make
drive.
you a bit more Wilfred Zaha, maybe?
No, nothing like that.
Suspended this week, blood.
Yes. So the meetup's only like 3 weeks away now. We'll be there December the 13th. Follow who got the assist for the.
It's my birthday.
It's your birthday. Apparently it's Christmas jumper day as well. I might actually wear a Christmas jumper that day.
It's going to be a state of a weekend for me because I'm getting back from Munich the night before.
Yeah.
And I'm going to Wolves on the Sunday as well.
Oof, going to be busy.
It's going to be a weekend off.
To get a life-size cardboard cut out of yourself, because I don't want Harry to miss you too much while you're not around.
It'll be all right. It'll be all right.
Yeah, he's only little. Other than that, do you want to tell everybody what we have got on for the rest of this week?
A brilliant Tottenham podcast tomorrow, focusing on just the one game, Spurs' win from the weekend. I talk quite a lot about small, subtle differences in Spurs. We obviously talk about the fact that Suj wants Pellegrini to go in more detail, and we talk tactics on the game a little bit more. Have a bit of bounce. It's good fun. Sky, Wednesday, 8 captain opportunities in 10 days coming up. It's a really big period in that game, so we'll be doing a bit of planning for that. Thursday's clash of the correspondents is a biggie. Foxy FPL are Leicester correspondent and Noop, and Sean at Spirit Blues are Everton correspondent. 2 clubs who would have had similar targets pre-season on very different trajectories. Friday, final plan, be looking back in the Champions League. I'll be talking a bit more about Spurs following Olympiacos. We might have some more details on that. And obviously Chelsea as well following their game in Valencia. It's a difficult captaincy in game week 14. At the moment, I'm leaning towards Sadio Mane, but a lot may depend on what happens with the managerial
merry-go-round
in the next few days.
There you go. Thank you for that. Do interact with us on Twitter if you can. You can find James at PlanetFPL Pod, at Sujan Shah for me. Make sure you subscribe, like, comment, all of that other stuff that you're supposed to do on podcasts and what have you. Other than that, thank you for your interaction, and ciao for now.
Thank you, Suj. Still love you, mate. Cue music. Thank you, everyone. Cheers, man, child.
Stop. I didn't do anything to stop you loving me, did
What? I kind of hated you Saturday night.
I? Hate's a strong
I
word.
still love you.
Hate's a strong word.
I feel bad for you, man. Give me some.
The Fantasy Football Show.